This is a crisis beyond epic proportions. And I'm going to talk about some of the numbers that I think, no offense to anybody in the room, are not comparable to anything else that you're facing in this world today. One person in this country right now dies every 6 minutes. In the 40 minutes that I have left to speak to you, unless we go over, 7 people are going to die. 240 Americans die every day in this country from a drug overdose or a poisoning. That's the equivalent of a 737 falling out of the sky every day. I ask you, if a 737 crashed every day in this country, what would you do? You would probably not get on an airplane, but you would demand action. You would demand somebody do something about that. We are in the midst of a public health, public safety, and national security threat because of the cartels, but because of the poison that's flowing into the United States at record amounts. So if you go through the numbers, and I mentioned some of it a little bit. When you talk about in 2023, in a 12-month period, ending in July, 112,323 Americans died. When you talk about the amount of grief that comes from that loss, it's immeasurable. Moms, dads, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandmothers, grandfathers, all lost loved ones. 112,323. Yankee Stadium only holds less than 40,000. Citi Field holds 42,000. Giant Stadium holds 86,000. Picture Giant Stadium completely full, gone. That's the loss. That's how dangerous this is. So in the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, we're a global organization. We have 82 offices in 62 countries around the world. We have 240 offices domestically. I talked about the Northeast region. Our mission every single day is to save lives. That's what we do. So in the New York, in the Northeast region, our goal every single day, what we strive for, is to build high-functioning, high-trusting teams that have absolute clarity of what they do, how they do it, but most importantly, why. Why do they do this work? They do it because each and every one of you has a loved one that could very easily fall victim to these illicit pills that are on the street today. 39,000 pills were seized already this year. 39,000. 8,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. Roughly almost equivalent to 300 million lethal doses. That's nearly the population of the United States. And we're not done yet. Right? It's only April. This is what is on our street right here, right now, today. Tonight, as I talk to you. Less than 4 miles away from here, there was a fully functioning, fully operational pill mill operating in Brooklyn with 2 fully functional pill press machines that were capable of producing hundreds of thousands of pills in a week. 20 kilograms of fentanyl powder seized right here in Brooklyn. 2 days ago, we seized 230 kilograms of pentothal, or is equivalent to tramadol, which is Schedule II illicit narcotic or synthetic opioid. 55 kilos of cocaine earlier in the week, another 15 kilos today, and we're about to see something else as I stepped into this room. That's all in our neighborhoods where we work, where our kids play, where we socialize. So I ask you, what is more dangerous? What is of more concern to you as a community than this poison that's on our streets? So what the senator mentioned was Take Back. Operation Take Back. 16 years, 30 separate operations across the country of collecting up licit, legal, prescribed medications that you have in your homes. What I just got done talking about is all illicit drugs. This is two different problems. So during Operation Take Back, we want you to be mindful about what's in your home, about what's in your medicine cabinet. Anything that's old, anything that you don't need, anything that you need to get rid of, we want you to bring it to one of these centers. We don't want you to, as the senator said, pour it down the toilet, because it ends up in our water supply. And that's detrimental to everybody in this room. So what's the DEA doing every single day? Well, some of it is right here, right now, having this conversation, talking to you, helping educate the public. We go into schools, we go into colleges, we talk at community events like this. We're on social media. We have what we call family summits, where we bring moms and dads who have lost their kids to a center where we can have a conversation, where they can share their story. And there's a lot of stories out there of harm, of grief. You know, there's a percentage, almost 50% of all of the young people, 12 or older, who start using illicit narcotics, get it from the home, a friend, a family member. And it starts with sometimes the illicit narcotics that are in our homes. But the shame and the tragedy and the frightening aspect of this drug landscape today is that they're not getting it from a pharmacy. They're not abusing illicit narcotics. They're getting a pill on social media. They're getting a pill on the city streets. They're getting a pill mailed to them through the U.S. mail system, through DHL, through UPS. And those pills are illegal and they're laced with fentanyl. So in 2022, in our laboratories across the United States, we have 10 laboratories. We would test these pills. In 2022, it was 4 out of 10 pills. For every 10 pills that we tested in our labs, 4 of them were lethal. They would kill you. 2023, it went to 6 out of 10. In 2024, it went to 7 out of 10. So people will always talk about this Russian roulette of taking illegal drugs. So if anybody knows about Russian roulette with a revolver, depending on the type of revolver, it could be a 1 out of 5 or a 1 out of 6 chance. I just got done telling you it's 70% chance that you could overdose and die. That sounds pretty serious to me. That's something I would want our kids to know. And I have 3 of them. 2 are adults and 1 is still in high school getting ready to graduate. And I tell them all the time, do not take a pill from anybody unless you get a prescription from a doctor and you go to a pharmacy and you get it filled by a professional pharmacist. If you're taking a pill that you get on the internet or on a city street, I guarantee you it's illegal. And I guarantee you it's going to be laced with fentanyl. Now, the good news is we went from 112,323 Americans who lost their lives to 84,076 in 2024. That's a 24% decrease. That's pretty significant. That's saving lives. Our pills went from 7 out of 10 to now 29%. 29% of all the pills that we're testing in our laboratories today have a lethal dose of fentanyl. So you may ask yourself, what's a lethal dose of fentanyl? Does anybody know? Anybody have an idea? Yes, sir. Close, very close. It's microscopic. It's 2 milligrams. If I had a picture, I'd show it to you, but it can fit on the tip of a pencil. If you still use a salt shaker, which I do, and you can pour 10 grains of salt onto your kitchen table, that's a lethal dose of fentanyl. If we're going to talk about carfentanil, we're talking about a speck, probably a grain of salt. You won't see it with the naked eye. And carfentanil is a trend that we're seeing on the city streets of New York and throughout the country. So in 2023, in New York City, there were 3,046 overdose deaths in this city. There was only 6,000, little over, in the whole state of New York. Is that a concern? I think so.
1 million people live here.
It's still a large number. Now we see 2,192 in 2024. We see a downward spiral, right? Which is good. And then now and already in 2025, when we look at the numbers, we're at like 2,000. You got to remember, this stuff is a little bit slow in how it matriculates through the system, and we're able to count it. So my ask of all of you is, we want you to take the information I'm giving you here today. We want you to share it with your loved ones. We want you to tell your children, your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren if you have them. They need to make smart choices. Because this is a $500 billion a year business. And they do not care if they kill you or not. What they care about is that you become addicted to their poison because they want to make money. It is a profit-driven business, and that's all they care about. People always wonder, why would they want to kill their clientele? They're not. Fentanyl is the most highly addicting, most powerful illicit opioid on the market. So it's about business to them. They don't care. What I'm telling you is we care deeply. I've talked to too many mothers, too many fathers who said their child went away to college and needed to stay up late and got a pill from a friend. And they died. 3 weeks ago, 2 18-year-old students at FIT overdosed. One died. Within 24 hours, we had the person responsible for giving the fentanyl to the two young ladies in handcuffs. Within 48 hours, we had the person who gave the fentanyl to the guy who gave it to the girls in custody. And within 96 hours, we traced it back to the person who gave it to the middle guy, who gave it to the guy who killed the girl. That's the work that we do. Some of you may remember September 15th, 2023. Not in this borough, but in the Bronx, there was a tragedy that is unimaginable. Think about that you, as parents, as caregivers, you say to your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, you drop them off at daycare and you say, have a great day. I'll see you at the end of the day. Well, for 4 families, that's a day that they'll never forget. Because on that day, when they dropped off their young kids at this daycare, the Nino daycare in the Bronx, 4 young kids under the age of 2 overdosed in the daycare. And Nicholas Dominici, 22 months old, never came home. Why did that happen? Because drug traffickers don't care. All they care about is the money they're going to make. All they care about is the profit behind the poison that they're pushing. So in the daycare, the owner-operator was involved. She was allowing her boyfriend to store the drugs in the floorboards underneath the play mats where the kids played every day. The utensils that she used to make their lunches is the same utensils they used to mix up the drugs. On the day of this tragedy, Gray Mendez, the owner and operator of this daycare, didn't call 911. She called her boyfriend. She called the guy who was responsible for storing the fentanyl in the daycare and said, come back. And he did. And he retrieved a kilo out of the closet. But he didn't have time to go into the floorboards. So like this other case I just described to you, we arrested one person within 24 hours, the second person within 96 hours, the third person within 10 days, and then Herrera, who fled, Felix Herrera, who fled, tried to evade law enforcement, who was directly responsible. Where do you think he went? Who said it? He went to Culiacan, Mexico, home of the cartel. He thought he would find safe haven there. He was wrong. Within 12 days of that tragedy, we had handcuffs on Felix Herrera in Mexico and brought him back to the United States for prosecution, and both of those people got 39 years, which is not enough. And some other people got significant time as well. I tell you this story because it could happen to any one of us. It can happen to anybody, anytime. So, what we want you to do is understand that we're doing everything that we can to stop this poison from coming into the United States. These Mexican cartels, the Sinaloa and Jalisco cartel, they're the two most dominant trafficking organizations that are impacting the United States. China is supplying the precursor chemicals that are coming in to Mexico, and it's being synthesized into fentanyl powder and pills and methamphetamine. It's flowing in here in record amounts and devastating effects. We're stopping that. That's why you see these numbers dropping. Through enforcement, through public education, awareness, and prevention, we're driving those overdoses down. And we're removing that lethal poison from the streets. The poison that I just described to you that took those young lives, that's what we're doing. There are countless overdoses every day. I could tell you story on top of story on top of story. It's unfortunate. But it's going to take an army of people like yourselves who understand the seriousness of this, that can take our information. We want you to steal it. Go on our websites. Go on our social media platforms and share it with anybody and everybody. Because one life saved is worth it. But here's what I know, and I'll end with this thought, and then I want to take questions. This is what I know with absolute certainty. When we, people in this room, we Americans, rally around a common cause, the safety and security of our youth, our communities, our values, and our freedoms, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish together. So I'm going to count on every one of you to be our messenger. I'm going to count on every one of you to be a deputy of the DEA, to go out and share our message, share our knowledge, and save a life. Because it matters. Every conversation matters. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate what you're doing, and God bless you all.